Hello. So in this one, I had an idea to talk about the worst movie I have ever watched. Now, I think when this topic comes up, people normally talk about, movies which are so bad, it's very funny, like The Room. But really, I do think this is straight up the worst movie I've ever watched. I have no doubt this is somebody's favorite movie out there, and I'll probably offend someone by saying this. But the worst movie I have ever watched is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, growing up, I watched quite a few Marvel movies. It was just what, high school boys did, right? You watch the movie, you go and to your class and you go, oh my god, did you watch the new Iron Man movie? Did you watch the new... What the fuck am I? Oh, I'm in Mondstadt. Did you watch the new, Avengers? Because it was cool to talk about and it was pretty entertaining. And I remember back in high school, the one that really caught my attention was, it was the first Doctor Strange movie. I thought the conflict resolution was fantastic. It was so cool that, Doctor Strange could use these mystical powers to defeat the enemy pretty much without fighting that much. He outsmarts them, which is a nice change from the usual, bish bash bosh, just beat the crap out of the enemy kind of way of solving these conflicts. Silence. Now, let me kill this guy first. I struggle to talk while fighting these things. He fall off. Oh. Okay, get get off the wall. What the? Let the fight be humble. Okay, yes. The first one was so creative. And then you watch the second one that comes out way later, It comes out, what's it like, 6 movies later? Something like that. And I had very high expectations, because I thought the first one, the story was so deliberate, it was well thought out, and clearly the writers gave a shit. And then I watched the second one near the time it released in cinemas, and how did I not get it? And I really thought it was terrible. Now I'll try to explain why I think it's so bad whilst exploring Chengyu Vale and not getting distracted every 2 seconds. Rain must be quite an inconvenience for you. Oh, there's a chest down there. Oh, it's one of these puzzles. Yes, I will explain after I beat these guys. Okay, yes. So I think one of the strongest points from the first movie is how consistent the use of powers are. There is not a moment where I'm thinking, hey, they used this power in the first half hour of the movie. Why, and they're using it again in the latter part of the movie. And, I'm not thinking, why did they just use that power later in the movie, which they used to begin with, to solve the problem in the first place. Now, this is a really big problem in the second movie, because there is nothing more frustrating than knowing that your character can do something but they just don't do it. Now, the example I will use is at the very beginning of the movie. Not even like how do I solve this? What? What's not like? What's on the? Oh, those guys. Let's see. There we go. Not even, let's say, like, first 10 minutes they use power A, and then it would have been really useful in Act 3, but they didn't use it. It was like within the first 10 minutes, there was already a plot contrivance. There was there's chilies here. There was an enemy. Let's say Chili Pepper, right? Chili Pepper here, is an enemy in the first 10 minutes of the movie. It's a huge creature that is destroying New York City and causing a lot of trouble for its citizens. Luckily, Doctor Strange is there to defeat the enemy. Great. Now, they established that the enemy was weak to cuts and blades. So, and they show this because Doctor Strange, he conjures a blade, like a huge saw, with his magic, right? And you can see him cutting through this bit, chili peppers, limbs, and it's not working because it's an eldritch monster, and I think just cutting off its arms are not enough. What you would do is you'd cut off its head, which is what they do in the very end, 10 minutes later during the fight. But during the 10-minute fight, right, instead of conjuring things to cut its head off, they conjure up little axes and swords to slice the thing. Okay, maybe, heat of the moment, they couldn't think of doing anything else. But then, later on, they conjure, so the chili pepper throws a huge like bus towards Doctor Strange, right? And in order to prevent the bus from directly hitting himself, he makes a huge saw blade out of magic to cut the bus in half. Why don't you just chuck the saw blade at the monster? It's so frustrating. So you could have ended the fight and prevented all this collateral damage to New York City if you just started off with the attack you used at the end of the beginning of the fight. I know the fight would have lasted 2 seconds and it would have been a very entertaining watch, but it's frustrating to think about. Similarly frustrating is the past, every instance of his appearance. Even in the very first movie, the first power he learns is to create portals. You draw a circle and then you think of where you want to go and then you go there. About halfway through the movie, well, the MacGuffin in this movie. Let me talk to this guy first. Blah 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 blah. Treasure hoarder camp. Okay. Okay. Yes, please lead the way. Right? So he he can make portals because he's done it in 5 movies or something like that. And the MacGuffin in the plot. So they're looking for a book called The Book of Vishanti, and it's special because where's the chest? Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Okay, well this is a code. And they're looking for the Book of Vishanti because they're trying to prevent this calamity, or they're trying to defeat the Scarlet Witch, which is terrorizing the multiverse. Is the only way I can put it. And they do actually find it, and it's within arm's reach. Well, not so much within arm's reach. They find the Book of Vishanti, and it's a race for it because Scarlet Witch is behind them. Not yet. She's behind them. They are ahead of her. And this is a character who can make portals to go from A to B. Tell me why, instead of portaling to the book, which is, maybe 200 meters away, why do they jump there? Like, what? I remember watching the movie and I was like, this is fucking stupid. We've got 2 characters here. You have, Doctor Strange himself, who can make portals, and you have another character who can punch portals into existence, right? But that's a bit different, the way they do that. But instead of using their powers, they leap from platform to platform like fucking Mario. And of course, right, they don't make it there because the story demands that that there needs to be more conflict. I think there are other ways around this, right? Surely there's another way to go about telling the story without making me think this guy's a retard. Like seriously, it's so frustrating. And and the villain of the story and what they focus a lot on is Scarlet Witch. And here's another problem. You don't understand her motivation as the villain because it requires you to watch a side TV show about her and her family. So in the other TV show, big plot story that turned her into a bit of a crazy person. And what she's trying to do in the movie is she's trying to bring her kids back or be a mother, but she doesn't have kids in this universe, so she's trying to get kids from other universes. Fine, but you don't know that because they never explain it in the movie. All you see is that she's become a space terrorist within the span of a few movies, because she's been a good guy all this time. Now she's suddenly switched up. Now, this is a Doctor Strange movie, but the spotlight is really shared with Scarlet Witch, which I think would be a good thing, if it was done correctly. But it really isn't because they don't explain it very well. And there's a few moments in the movie where the character has a clear shot. I think also early on in the movie, one of the characters has the chance. So Scarlet Witch, she is sort of projecting into a different universe, and in the main universe she's sort of like stilled because her consciousness is in a different universe. Sure, no problem. And one of the characters, which was supposed to be dead, was actually alive, and she had a knife to go and stab her. But instead of maybe going for the guttural and stabbing Scarlet Witch, she stabs the book she's using. Now, I'm sorry, maybe there's something I missed, right? Maybe she has a protective barrier that wouldn't have worked anyways. But I feel like the safer bet is to just stab her, right? Why the fuck would you stab the book she's using? It's quite... the whole... I don't know. Let me get this thing first. Oh, precious chest.
I wonder who this gift could be from.
It's impossible. And people applaud this movie. It baffles me. What do you mean this is a good movie? It's not. It really is not. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Shitness. I swear to God. What else? It's been a long time since I've watched the movie, so I don't remember the details very well. Oh, I hate it. Get away from me! Oh, there's a chest up there. Yeah, I think really, I think my biggest problem with it is the inconsistency of the powers. There are powers where they use at the start of the movie, which would have been a big help in the latter part of the movie, but they just don't use it. Why? Did you forget? There's no chance, right? It just feels contrived. It's not entertaining. It's frustrating. At least with bad movies like The Room, you can at least laugh at the stupidity, right? Because I don't think it was meant to be taken seriously to begin with. But with this movie, they obviously maybe they had money in mind, but they also wanted to tell the story, right? Because they've been pretty consistent all throughout, though. I'm guessing it's this lady I need to interact with. Nope. Okay. What? All right. But yeah, I mean, I know it's easy to criticize things and not make things yourself. That's kind of me right now. I'm just complaining about this thing. But I truly feel it's because I'm passionate about it. I wouldn't express such strong views on it if I didn't care about it. And a lot of my friends back in high school, we all grew up on these things, and we see them deteriorate over time. And it's pretty shit. To see something that you've been so invested in slowly turn into shit. But maybe it's designed for new generations, right?
The excitement of opening a
It's the same with Star Wars.
made it a
I think, you know, growing up, I was a pretty huge Star Wars kid. Like, embarrassingly into it. And I still have a lot of knowledge of it. I don't ever talk about it because it's kind of, you know, it's a bit cringe nowadays to talk to see a Star Wars fan. Maybe it's not, and I'm kind of stuck in this weird limbo state. But I think the first really big turnoff, I guess, was, you know, the very infamous movie, The Last Jedi, the 8th episode in the series. I would say not everyone thinks it's shit. Now that I'm much older than when during the time I watched it, I can appreciate it a bit more and the vision that they were trying to do. I would say that the execution is still shit. The story itself, in isolation, really is okay. But I think, you know, from the perspective of as a Star Wars fan, it's really not quite up there with the expectations. But I'll talk about that at length in a different video. Similarly with Star Wars TV shows, like gosh, it's all bad. It's somehow it's almost all bad. Like really, how is this possible? Who is in the writers' room? There are maybe like 2.5 good series out of the 8 they released now. Like a, you know, I guess a 25% success rate isn't that bad, since people are still watching it anyways. And weirdly enough, right, the people I talk to in real life, who do consume these sorts of things, they seem to be totally okay with it. Maybe I'm overcritical. That's a real possibility. I talk about great things as well. There are things I like this game. There's a lot of merits to it. But when I you know, watch contemporary Star Wars content, I just think to myself, fuck, what happened? But then it's also possible maybe it was always this cringe, you know? Maybe this is what everyone always thought of Star Wars. When I was Star Wars, maybe people thought I was, you know, this cringe. So who knows? Anyways, I'm going to end this video soon. I think I've rambled on long enough. But yes, I'm really glad this VTuber model seems to be working, but this guy get off my ass, please. Okay, there we go. Alright. Anyways, yes, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll talk about Star Wars shows in the next one. Alright, see you guys. Bye-bye.